Okay, hello. I'm jumping on the bandwagon. I'm actually going to talk about. Actually, let's get this off here. We're going to talk about this Heliofant channel and these videos that have popped up on here. Okay. A big thank you to Decoder Ring. He left me a comment with a bunch of information on it. Thank you very much for drawing my attention to this. Much appreciated. Anyway, I thought I'd give them all a quick look. So as you can see, I've whizzed through them all these new videos that they've posted on their channel. Just posted them basically within, well, just yesterday. Okay, on the 5th these were posted. Okay, so I've got some interesting number jumps. Notice the theme here with the icebreaker, isn't that? That's kind of interesting. I'm not really going to go through each one of these and try and decode out and pick out what's going on. It's I could whiffle waffle on for an hour or two about all the little bits and pieces that are in these little clips that they've posted here. Okay, the what there's several bits that stand out, like the icebreaker stands out. Like this breaking this crust here, this ice wall. Yeah, and then there's obviously some shots of water flowing. We've got a duck over here. We've got some kind of stadium arena thing here, maybe, I think. So there's several different little connections here. This dome here actually kind of reminds me of a nuclear blast. And if you recall the Super Bowl graphic for this year, they've got these kind of white balls in the background on that thing. I should have got it up, but it kind of reminds me of that again. Just that big sphere type thing, which sort of tied back to war games, with when the explosions on the screen in war games go off, they have those big white dots that show up. Anyway, there's lots of many connections here. I did think this was interesting with the idea of Frozen 2 and that film from Disney. They have the dam in it that has to be broken to restore balance. Yeah. So Frozen 2 references there. I did a couple of number jumps with it. There was some marginally interesting stuff. Just the date itself. This is the film Frozen 2. The dates itself, like the release dates, like the November the 22nd with JFK, Back to the Future 2, yada yada yada. Okay. The 13 reference here, because don't forget our big date that we've been looking at is 2/13. Well, really, it's a whole bunch of dates that I've been looking at recently, all surrounding Super Bowl 60 that's coming up on the 8th of February. So we've got 2/8 references moving into 2/13. I've got a big video that I'm going to do here when I get a minute. I've got a big decode to do actually on this whole thing, but I'm not going to get around to that for maybe a day or two. Maybe tonight, if I'm lucky, I'll get in and get it done, but I'm pretty busy at the minute. So anyway, one thing that I just wanted to point out is that the November the 7th, I've got it in here, I've got it highlighted. November the 7th in our chart of Lorraine is super duper important with Lucas numbers here. This line right here, Lucas numbers, 7/11 is our run up to this point right here. So it's very important. This release date for Frozen, one of the release dates for Frozen. Okay. And I've got written up here, these kind of dates that we're interested in. And all these dates are to do with, like, this is the beginning and end of the Lucas cycle, is the number 2/8. 2/13 obviously is the beginning of the cycle, so the 13th of February, which coincidentally is going to be a Friday the 13th this year for the Fry ends, okay, reference. 2/9, again, this is all to do with the White Wedding, again with Diana. 2/9, super duper important because it's the combination of these two middle numbers here, 11 and 18, the perfect combination of those two numbers. Okay. It retains individuality and also it combines. Okay, and so we run all the way up to 214, St. Valentine's Day. Okay, interesting, right? V for Vendetta references, all kinds of stuff going on. Now, one of the important things to remember is from the night of the, if you watch Decoding with Cody, from the night of the storm, from the 12th of November through to 2/8 is 88 days. Okay, that is super duper important. There are some references to Back to the Future coming up. Anyway, so we got that in there. We got this 103 minutes long, the 13 reference again. Okay, I did just run the number out for it to, this from the release of Frozen through to that particular date, just for interest. 335 prime. Okay, and then of course you might want to run out to the 13th as well. And we've got 229 or 229 what? 229. That's the jump day. Don't forget 229, super important. The jump day, okay? 29th of February in a leap year, okay, is the quantum leap jump day. Okay, what have we got here? 1950 composites. That's interesting with the 195 numerology there. If you ever watch We Seek, We Find, that's a pretty ominous number there. 699 here. That's pretty interesting as well, because I'm going to show you a number jump now, which you'll both like, oh my goodness, what is this number jump, Dan, you're showing me? Here, look. Let's look at when the Heliofant channel came online here. Joined July the 3rd, 2012. Okay, so July the 3rd, don't forget, that again is to do with Back to the Future. Back to the Future #1 release day, 3rd of July, 85. Okay, so this is again interesting with Back to the Future, but let's put this number jump in, and this is going to blow your mind now. Okay, so from there, joining YouTube through to Friday the 13th, 2026, 4973. So what? Click it. Ouch. That is absolutely mental. 666 prime. Wowzers. Okay. That is absolutely crazy. Don't forget, 216 as well coming up just shortly after this, another 666 reference. So that is, I don't know what to say about it. When I saw that, I thought, I have to do a video now. So we've got that. What else do we have in here? From the release of from those new clips on that channel, 1526, through to 213. Look what we've got. 40 days. Number 40, extremely interesting with this idea of rebirth and coming out of the system and the flood. All the biblical stuff, man. It was just absolutely crazy. What else have I got here? 2524. Now 2524, let me show you what this is. Let's get rid of this a second. 2524. If we go to this release, I don't know when they first originally released this. I believe they took it down and then they've put it back up since, or whatever. Even if this is the real channel or whatever, I have no idea. But anyway, if we look at the release, the re-release of this maybe, of iPet Goat 2, February the 5th, 2024. So that's that date that I've got in here. February the 5th, 2024 through to 213. 739, which is, again, remember we're talking about Super Bowl on 2/8, so it's 2 years, 8 days. That is super duper interesting. 739, let's just look at this. 131, 131st prime. And why is this interesting? With the release of Back to the Future, them tying in with the release of Back to the Future. Then we just looked at Frozen. It has the Back to the Future 2 release date. 2.5 is actually a reference to Back to the Future 3, which was released on the 25th of May. It's a 252 date, numerology. And so that's kind of marginally interesting as well with that. This whole number jump, coming out to 2 years, 8 days, and having Super Bowl on, 2/8, okay, and from, if you ever, we find, Decoding with Cody has the 11/12, 11/12 Night of the Thunderstorm through to 2/8 is 88 days. Okay, now I believe when he was doing it, he was doing the reference to do with just, I think he was doing it to do with Mary Steenburgen, okay, and the character Clara Clayton, okay. So from the actual Night of the Thunderstorm in 1955, this is the number jump he had, through to her birthday, I guess 56, is 88 days. So it's super duper fascinating because, of course, his connection there was the Super Bowl's at Santa Clara, Clara Clayton, okay, and the whole Golden Gate Bridge at the end of Back to the Future 3 with this, that's the home of the 49ers. If I was to guess, I'm going to probably do this in the next video, but I have been looking at the idea of the 49ers having a home game, and it's got to be the Broncos in it as well. It's just got to be. I don't know. Maybe it won't be, but the Broncos have so many links to the start of Back to the Future. The clock, the 8:25 on the clocks being late at the start of Back to the Future. That 8:25. Don't forget they have the what is it? 8:20 on their helmets. Yeah, for the Mile High reference. I think that's what it is, something like that anyway. It's been a while. So there's a lot of interesting stuff through to this Super Bowl. And also, don't forget, at the start of Back to the Future, the speaker blows up, the amp, and on the amp it's the CRM 114, okay? And if you go from 14th of Feb through, in fact, I've got it in here, if you go from the 14th of Feb through to the 28th, you get 25 days. So the amp blowing up and Marty being 25 minutes, the clock's being off 25 minutes and being late gets us to 2/8. So that is absolutely super duper fascinating. And I am going to do another decode on that whole scene at the start of Back to the Future, because if you look at the clocks in there, it does actually encode this date with the clocks as well, pretty well, with the Broncos there. So I have been looking at the Broncos 49ers for Super Bowl 60, and interestingly enough, we've had a lot of 24 references with this date. Okay, and the last time they would have played in the Super Bowl together was Super Bowl 24. So super duper interesting again. And just off the top of my head, the score in that game was something like 55-10, and 155 is also in our dollar bill to do with 213. Okay, and it's to do with the clock tower as well. So I don't know what else to say about it, other than this is absolutely super duper interesting that they suddenly release some videos back on this channel, to do with potentially upcoming events. Okay, so what else to say about it? I don't know. I thought I had one more number jump in here. No, we did this one. This was the Frozen through to 213, 2291, 195 composite. That is just mental. That 195 numerology in there, and that is also pretty mental as well with the 229. And it actually, if you backtrack here now, you can start seeing like there's some really like all these numbers here with the 228. That's interesting. Obviously, you could do this as well, fudge around, and you can get a lot of different 3/40th prime. We can tie that in with quite a few bits and pieces. I mean, you could just. I tell you, one other interesting thing they had in here was, I think it was this icebreaker one. Maybe it was this one. I don't know. Actually, I don't know where it was actually in here. But they did have a. They panned the camera around, and they did have a countdown. 4, 3, 2, 1 in the background in one of these shots. Yeah, and they also had the ducky, which don't forget the duck. Although it's a Donald Duck, a Donald Trump reference, it's also a reference to Michael J. Fox as well. Okay, so bear that one in mind as well, because they share the same birthday, basically. Okay, so I'm going to call it a day on this. Like I said, I won't be back on to do a video for a little while because I'm just busy. In fact, I didn't really have time to do this morning because I got to go do stuff. But anyway, thanks for watching. And the 666, crazy. All right, cheers, bye.